Let's talk about the movie Her.
Yes.
You're seeing it again. So you hadn't seen it in a long time?
I watch it pretty often. I don't know when was the last time I watched it, but it's one of my favorite movies. It's a comfort movie for me. It's one of those movies that I keep going back to. I am very familiar with it.
But in a
the
sad
dialogue,
way, right?
yeah. There's a quote that always like stays on my head though. It says, "The past is just stories that we keep telling ourselves." Like,
He says that?
yeah. What's her name?
I can't even remember.
Fuck.
The OS, right?
Sí.
Scarlett.
No. Es que sí estoy pensando Scarlett, pero no. Samantha. Yes, Samantha. She says that.
I love the chemistry
she's like,
between them.
The other day, I was sad because of something that you said to me, that I wasn't able to feel something because I didn't experience it. And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And then she says, No, it's okay. But I was just thinking, and I kept thinking about that. And I thought, you know what? Like, the past is just stories we keep telling ourselves. And like the way we remember them is how we tell ourselves that story. And like that scene always stays in my head because it's true. Like, all of our memories, we can tell it to ourselves any way we want it.
Yeah. So that's what makes it the past.
Yes. And you could either tell it to yourself as a sad story, or remember it with fondness, or think of it as a happy moment, or as maybe an opportunity for growth. It just really depends on how you tell yourself that story. And I love that scene. Well, I love the movie in general, and just the whole idea of falling in love with a personality.
Yeah. I think that's the big, like, theme of it. It's just like they presented it like an OS, like an AI, but like it's really just to show that, like, in a way we choose these distractions that completely like can take our attention off of like the real issues that we're going through. And I feel, because when I first saw that movie, like I was going through a really bad breakup and I felt like I was Theodore. But then later on in my life, I felt like I was Rooney Mara, which was the ex-wife. So it's like I've been able to feel like I was every single one of them in that movie. Or even, what's her name? The Amy Adams, the best friend.
They end up together, right?
I don't know. Cause
It's inconclusive, but I think they do.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, spoiler alert. Sorry.
I know.
But
like,
at this point, I mean, come on. Yeah, if you
Yeah.
haven't seen it, well, first of all, you should, what are you doing? Go watch it right now. Like, pause this and then come back and watch it. But it's like I said, one of my favorite movies.
I love the way that they talk to each other.
It's a comfort movie for me. Yeah, but I also watched Sound of Metal. You watched it too,
Yeah.
right?
What did you think?
I liked it. It's good. I would watch it again.
It left me more afraid than I was before.
Yeah. This movie is relatively new, right? Last year.
Yeah.
So I don't want to give too much away. If you haven't seen it, it's on Amazon Prime. But the feeling he got when he heard again, it's how I felt when my anxiety was at its worst. I don't know, like, because the sounds that you heard when the hearing was turned back again, like, it was a lot. It was like a lot. And to us, it doesn't sound normal because it's not the way we hear. Like, for example, like just being outside and like the sun's shining, you're in the park and you hear people talking on the background and like the birds are chirping and like it's a nature sound. So like it's relaxing. But to him, even that was overwhelming. Yeah. And that's when he like, and that's literally how I felt when my anxiety was the worst.
Hi, my name is Luna.
Hi, I'm Polly.
And this is
The Other Side. We were kind of talking before we started the podcast about anxiety, but we want to tell you guys about this new series, chapters. We really don't and haven't figured out completely the name of it. But basically the idea behind this is that we want to talk about more of a real stuff and personal stuff and stuff we deal with.
Mental illness stuff.
Mentally. From our personal experience, of course, with it, and how we manage. Like I said, we don't have a name set yet for what this series is going to be, but we'll figure it out. If you have suggestions, they're welcomed through our Instagram page. And also these different episodes, we're going to be sprinkling them on the channel.
Yeah,
throughout, yeah.
So we're gonna try to focus on mental illness, so it'll be a variety of things, from depression to PTSD to anxiety to panic disorders to maybe bipolar disorder and things like that. They're not going to be chronological. We'll just narcissism, or we can even talk about these different complexes that people have, like the superiority complex, the God complex. Because I feel like in one way or the other, everybody's been affected by something like that. So,
and also you just mentioned right now that the way you saw that post on Instagram and it reassured you that it was a real thing, that happened to me too. Even before I've been to therapy, by the way. Fun fact, I've been to therapy. I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression, severe anxiety and depression. That was about 2 years ago. And then, but before I went to that, I had no idea what was wrong. I knew something was off, but I didn't know what it was. And nobody around me was going through the same thing that I was. Nobody in my family understood. It was so odd. And same thing through videos on YouTube and things I saw on Instagram. I was like, okay, I'm not the only person that is dealing with this and that feels that way. Or literally, sometimes I still see TikToks and they literally describe what I can't say. Mm-hmm. And it helps me so much because I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. This is a real thing that happens to people. Somebody else is trying to deal with it, so I'll be fine. So I think that that's also part of why we wanted to do these episodes. So maybe if somebody out there is hearing and maybe feels the same way like we do, then
to know that you're not alone.
Yes. And also maybe to, if we can offer a bit of guidance of what we've done in the past. I mean, if it helps somebody, I think that's all the joy and the work that we could take from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this episode we want to talk about anxiety. I like I said, I was diagnosed, which I don't know. I don't like. I've never talked about this. Okay, whatever. There was a point about 2 years ago that I was dealing with something and I didn't even know what it was. There was nothing going wrong in my life. It literally I don't want to say that it was from one day to the other because it was a progression, but it literally was a switch of what the fuck is the point of this? And then I remember that it got really bad to a point where I want to cry, that I would, every time I would get into my car, I couldn't drive. And if I started driving, I wouldn't feel safe in my car, and I had to park because I was sobbing and I didn't know what was wrong. And it was so frustrating because literally nothing happened. Yep. So I was telling myself, what the fuck is wrong with you? why are you crying? Like, there's literally no point to why you're crying. You are driving to Walmart or trying to get gas, and like there's literally nothing that triggered me, but
Yeah.
just getting in my car felt so invading and so
Just not safe.
not safe. Yeah. It would give me so much anxiety that I would like, I felt like I was gonna crash, or like everything was moving so fast around me and I couldn't drive, so I had to park and like just literally like let it all out. And of course I had to drive back because I was like in the middle of like the parking lot in Walmart or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's such a big thing that people don't realize. Like, it's not only dealing with the fact that you feel this way, but it's knowing that you have to be the one in control in the end. And you don't feel like you're in control. Because, like, at the end of the day, you're an adult and you need to go to work and you need to drive to go buy food. You need to do all these things. Like, you can't just tell somebody to do it for you. You know, because there's some people that just stay home and like they'll do anything they can to just try to get everything to them. But it's like, that's to me the most frustrating part of it. And I don't know, like if you said you still deal with that, but I'm still dealing with that and I hate it. It's always a work in progress with my car anxiety. Like it progresses worse and then it regresses and then sometimes it comes back and it just, I can never tell. It's just all about like having the mindset to be strong enough to deal with it the day it happens, the moment it happens.
It's not that bad anymore. It used to be. And that was at that point, I remember like parking outside of Academy right here on Jackson. And I was crying so much. And I like, I've said this before, I'm a narcissist. And like, maybe it's going to sound a little bit fucked up, but like I am fucked up. I like looking at myself in the mirror when I cry. Or like, not that I cry, but like, I don't know why I always see myself. Anyway, I was in the car and like I was looking at myself and I was thinking like, this is not normal. Like it's like 12 p.m. in the afternoon in the middle of of a parking lot sobbing for no apparent reason. This is not normal. And I took out my phone and I Google searched a psychologist near me. The first one, I called it and I made an appointment and I was like, I need to fix this. And just like you said, like it's not a thing that I could just avoid. Like I needed to drive because I needed to go to work. I need to function as an adult. And I don't know if it was at that point the one that triggered it the most. For some reason it was my car, but it was not just my car. Like I had problems just being with myself alone and being in a room where things were too loud felt horrible. Going to the supermarket, like I had to wear my headphones because it was too much. Like, and I would beg people not to call on me or like it was. And I know like it's may sound strange to people that haven't dealt with this, but like I think you can only understand it if you felt it. Like you just want to be left alone, but you have to go outside because nobody's going to do things for you. And
it's like you have to show up for yourself because it will just get worse if you do not leave the house, if you do not get in your car. And it's such a huge struggle because like you really feel terrified. And it's not something that you could ever explain to somebody, like the gravity of how serious it feels when you feel just not safe doing nothing. I remember the first time I got like real anxiety, I think it was my last semester in college, it was 2018. And I walked into it was the first day of class to, I think it was a method in theory course for anthropology. And I just remember seeing so many people in there. And for the first time, I didn't want to sit in the front. I sat in the way back because something in me was telling me, you need to sit by the door. I don't know why. It was just this fear of like, and the way that my mind like puts it together is like something could happen and you need to be able to leave if something happens. All the while, everybody's just like, hey, what'd you do last weekend? Or like, oh, did you do the homework? And I'm just there like, everything just sounds cloudy. And I'm like, I'm just a fucking psychopath or something, right? Why am I afraid?
Yeah, I get it. And like I said, I don't think I don't know. I feel like maybe at certain level, everyone experiences some type of
Yeah.
experience like this. Hopefully not. Sorry if you do.
For me, it leans more on the panic disorder spectrum because to me, I am always afraid something is about to happen. Something is about to fall and like crash into the earth, and it's all just gonna go like crazy and upside down. I remember the first time like I had a panic attack in public. It was at a movie theater, which is the saddest thing because I love movies and I love going to see them. And I used to go almost like twice a week for like several years. Like I just loved it. I just wanted to see something. And I remember where I was sitting. I think it was, I want to say at the XD theater, but it wasn't like in an XD theater. It was like in one of the regular rooms. And I was watching A Star is Born, the old Lady Gaga. And I just
Lady
remember
Gaga.
being so excited to see that movie. And it was like in that section where like you're going up, like it's not at the bottom part, but like it's the very first row. So you have like the railings for the handicap. And I remember sitting there and like I had my feet up and I was eating the popcorn. And funny enough that we were talking about like Sound of Metal earlier. Like, so there's that scene where Bradley Cooper's like losing his hearing, right? Because his older brother was like, you need to be careful with like all this music and all that. And there's that point where like he's doing a sound check on stage and he's like, ee! And I just absolutely lost it. I didn't know what happened, but like my stomach just sank and I felt so afraid. Like I started looking around the theater and I'm like, oh my God, something's gonna happen right now. Like I don't know what it is, but I know something's gonna happen. And I just got up and I just went to the restroom and like I just sat there for like 10 minutes and like I felt so embarrassed. Like I went with people and I didn't know what to say to them. I was like, what the fuck? They're gonna think like, I don't know, like I'm stuck in the restroom or something. And it wasn't that. And then it just suddenly brought back all these memories I had growing up of when I was afraid. I would do the same thing for no reason. I have so many memories, like going out to eat, like on the weekend with my dad and my sisters, and like a family day thing. Whenever we would have like a food, like sitting, we'd just go and eat. I would always make it a point to go to the restaurant. I would just sit there, and I wouldn't even think about it because you know you're a kid. Like I wasn't processing what any of that could possibly mean. I just knew I had to do that, and so when I was sitting there, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like I knew about anxiety. I just didn't think it was like that.
Yeah.
Because I always put together like, oh, if you're somebody with anxiety, you're someone who's like jumpy, you're someone who's loud, you're someone who's fast and impatient. To me, that's what an anxiety person was, not what I was. So that was really hard to wrap my mind around.
I remember going to the theater was also something that I had a problem with, which same boat as you. Like I love going to the movie theater, but I never had a panic attack there. But I do remember that every time I would go, like I would like tell the person I was with, like, please make sure that nobody sits around us, like at least 3 to 4. And this is before COVID, like
Same.
like,
No, like
this is
it's
before
like we've
COVID.
been
Like
living in COVID.
I was
before
just so
COVID.
anxious that somebody would sit next to me. Like it's like so invasive of my space. I don't know. And then first that was one thing, and also when the people were walking in, for some reason I felt unsafe. So I remember that I would like if we would get there like before the movie would start, when people were still walking in, I would literally like just turn to the person I was with and I was like, please talk to me, like distract me from what's going on around me. And then like we would just like have conversations. And I remember like the first time I did this, the person I was with like so confused, like what's going on, and I had to explain to them, I just don't feel like I should be here right now, so just please talk to me and distract me from my surroundings.
Because your mind is just gonna think the worst. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't even know like why or what triggered it. But it wasn't a panic attack. It wasn't that bad. Where I did have a panic attack was in a Starbucks, and I was just sitting there drawing, which was my thing, and like I was just always there. Every Sunday you could find me there drawing, drinking my tea, and like all of a sudden, I remember I looked up, and then I don't even like, this is the thing, like I kind of have an idea of what triggered it, but it was myself. Like, it wasn't something that happened. It was my mind. Because I started thinking about something that wasn't even going to happen, or like didn't happen, or actually never happened, but I created the scenario in my mind, and I was like, oh my God. And I started crying, and like I remember like trying to hold it really bad because I don't want to make a scene.
Yeah, yeah, that's always the biggest like factor in it all. It's just like, who cares if you're like having a breakdown? Like, can't let anybody else see that. They're gonna think you're crazy.
And then I just grabbed my stuff, picked everything up as fast as I could, and like, because I was like like sobbing, like, and I just picked myself and I left. And then I was like, fuck, like I can't believe I've sabotaged myself into hating the place I love the most.
It's like,
Because
and you have
now,
like an imaginary like list of all the places that things like that have happened in, and it's like,
yeah,
you
because
did that.
because now, like, for I don't know, months after that happened, I couldn't go back to my favorite place, because every time I would go back, my head would go back to that moment, and it felt horrible. And I hated myself for that, because I was like, dude, like nothing even happened. Like, it was just all in your head. But still, like, I just
But it
couldn't
was
go
traumatic.
back. I couldn't go back. And at some, like, I started slowly going back, easing back into it, like going into the patio or just staying there for like a few minutes, or like just picking something up and leaving, until eventually I could sit myself again inside and draw again. But it did take time, and like it's so weird.
It is. And then when you have to say it out loud, it's like, oh my God, this doesn't even sound natural. What the fuck?
Yeah.
For me, like, it was so the movie theater just played a big part in that. And obviously, like, later on, like, I think really where it started was when I fainted, like, at the doctor. And it was because of, like, it was just, I was doing an annual, and, like, some other things came up in my life that, you know, I just had to, like, check. And, like, everything ended up being fine. And as soon as the doctor, like, left the room, I just fell straight to the ground. And I've been traumatized ever since that, like, if I ever get scared enough, I'm gonna faint and I won't be in control. So not only do I have to worry about looking crazy or like not breathing, but I'm afraid of losing conscious of my body. And so that's really what fuels all my anxiety all the time. It's not just about looking crazy. It's about like, what if I just faint? Like, what if I hit my head? And like, what if somebody like sees that? Or I don't know, just it's always thinking about all these different things that I wish I didn't think about. And that's really the trick of it, is like, you need to get to a place or find a way to like calm your mind, because it's going to happen no matter what. But if you can at least find like that strength or that focus to know this is happening, what should we do? What shouldn't we do? And I'm still like in the process of learning those things. But to me, like, my safety net has always been like having water on me, having food on me. And there was like a period of time where like I would always carry around a bottle of Vicks. And I would
What?
Of Vicks. Vicks.
Oh, Vicks.
Vicks, yeah. And I would like smell it in the car, because I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna faint because I'm smelling it. And I remember my dad one time said, Luna, you know, that's just placebo, right? And I'm like, so what? Like, it is placebo, but like, if this is what's gonna keep me from freaking out,
Yeah.
then I will absolutely do it. Because there's other people who have the weirdest superstitions and like little habits to, you know, getting like that, I don't know, thing that they want. So like, and that's mine. It's just, it keeps me calm. And my driving anxiety is probably my biggest enemy right now. Because like you, I enjoy doing things alone. I enjoyed going to the store and looking at things or having a coffee, or just really like just enjoying my time. And ever since like I had a panic attack one night when I was dropping off my friends, like it just happened randomly. It wasn't even anxious. I wasn't even sad or anything. I just remember approaching like a left turning light, and I just got scared. Like, I felt stuck. I'm like, oh my God, all these cars around me. What am I going to do if I faint? Like, why the fuck am I even thinking about that? And it felt like the longest 2 minutes of my life. And by the time it was green, like, I just hauled ass and I got out of there, and like I just kept driving on the lane that has the emergency exit lane, you know, like the right side. And ever since that day, I only drive on that side. Unless I'm with somebody, I give myself that advantage. Like, okay, it's okay. You can drive on the left lane. Like, that's my little, like, whew, it's all right. But if I am alone, I will only drive on that lane. And I hate that I've become that person, but it's like, that's just how I am. Like, I get it now. When a lot, like, my mom and, like, some other people who don't like to drive very much, like, they say things like, I don't like to drive at night. Or, like, I don't like to drive when it's busy. And I'm like, why? It's all the same thing. But,
True.
you know, these things happen to you and you learn that, like, there's other people that have traumatic experiences and, like, they have their preferences to how to go about things.
Well, what fixed it for me was therapy. I think I just needed to talk to someone because I was holding in a lot of things because, like I said, like, nobody around me could understand what I was going through. So I started going to therapy. I sought help. And I just started talking through my problems. I did at some point stop going through therapy because something happened, but I do even remember even the first day that I went to therapy. I was like in the living room or like the waiting area, and the TV was on, and like it was probably not that loud, but there were, I don't know, the receptionist and maybe two other people there, and one of them was pacing, and then the TV was on. Like, it was too much.
Yeah.
And it was literally just like three people. But it was, even that was too much. And I don't know, maybe one of the things that my therapist was said that it was like my brain was overstimulated, like it was too much. And she even apologized. She's like, oh, I'm sorry that the TV was bothering you. Like, we'll keep that in mind because, like, obviously they treat a lot of people that have similar problems. But I brought it up, like, because she was like, okay, why are you here? Like, what made you come here? And, like, I told her, like, I have scenarios just like the one I literally just had one, and I told her about my experiences. She's like, oh, okay, like, we'll keep that in mind for next for the future. But that would always happen to me, and it was just so strange. Like I said, eventually got better. I don't know. The thing is, I don't know, because it's not that bad now. I think that I'm fine, but am I?
It's because that's the thing. Like, it's not cured. It can just come back whenever it wants to. But it all, like, also depends on, like,
little
how
triggers.
you
Therapy.
can see. And that's something I've never had. And that's something I feel like maybe is the reason why, like, I never seem to get out of this hole. It just feels like it's so far away up and I can't climb out. But for what does it for me, like for you with the scenarios, is seeing people like in hoodies or like with their hands in their pockets.
You think something's gonna happen?
I don't know why. It scares me. And I hate it because it just sounds real prejudiced or whatever. But like, I am just afraid that somebody's gonna like shoot up the place. Or whenever it seems like somebody's like following me. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I just remembered something. No, that's why I had a panic attack when I was driving. When I was driving home after I dropped off my friends, I was going down a road, and it felt like for the longest time this car was just following me. Mm-hmm. And for a second, I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna do? I don't know what to do. Like, I just have to keep driving. And then, like, at some point, I don't know why, what an idiot, like, I just drove into a neighborhood, and I just thought, like, maybe if people see me, like, he'll leave. And I just remember, going in that neighborhood, and he went into that neighborhood, too.
Or maybe.
And I was like, this is how I die. And he just kept on driving past me.
Okay. Okay, bueno.
And I just remember, and I reversed, and then I went home. And you see, that was just like a fight or flight like incident, but like everybody, that just happened to people normally, like where they think something's happening, right? They're like, oh, I don't know what's going on, whatever. But it was the aftermath. It was me going home and then 20 minutes later experience that panic attack at a green left turning light. Like, why there? Like, why not in the moment that like I was going through that? But that's the thing about trauma. It doesn't happen when you're going through something traumatic. You feel it later, eventually, or much later in time. And that's the thing about like PTSD too.
Guys, we're gonna jump into audio only if you wanna continue listening to our stories. We'll leave the links below for the people watching us on YouTube. Hop on to Spotify or Apple Podcast for the remainder of the episode. Did you ever went through something? You don't have to say if you don't want to. Like, did you ever went through something that maybe made you think that could happen?